Okay, that was Liberty Tax that you got into?
That's right. That's right.
And I didn't realize that you were living on the East Coast. I always think of you as a Midwest kind of a guy. Was that college that got you out there?
Yes, I was going to go to a school out in Virginia Beach. So I grew
Okay.
up in Spearfish, South Dakota, a town of like right now 10,000 people in the Black Hills. It's a beautiful area, but it's out in the middle of nowhere.
And that's where you still live.
And yes, I moved back here about 15 years ago.
Okay. So what was it that attracted you back to the realm of franchising? You had a studied and you weren't a great student, but you were obviously a sponge. In the world of business, what attracted you to franchising?
It was peers that are doing the same thing and we could learn together. So there, at that time, there's a lot of people my age that were buying into that business or already owned that business. It was somebody that had been in the business for years, meaning John Hewitt, the founder of that brand, had a proven track record in the industry, and so I could learn from him. I could learn from other franchisees who were successful. Some of them were my age, some of them were older, and there was just a proven playbook, or at least that's what I saw. And it was, but there still had a lot of room to grow, and I grew with that company. But that's it. It was like, okay, it's a business in a box, and I
Yeah.
can just go execute versus trying to. I couldn't do that on my own at that time. I could have scaled a lawn business, but the other thing that attracted me to that one is I didn't know taxes. And they said, you don't need to know how to do taxes. Like, you don't want to do taxes. This is a marketing, you need to go know marketing or operations. You don't need to do the thing that they're doing. In other words, I don't need to do the taxes. I don't need to be a tax preparer. And as a matter of fact, they're like franchisees that are doing taxes are not out generating business. They're not
Mhm.
hiring the right people because they're in there doing the thing that they're not supposed to do. So it's a whole E-Myth thing with Michael Gerber, that work on your business, not in your business. So I thought, okay, here's a business that I am not supposed to work in, I'm supposed to work on. I buy into that. I read his book in college, and I loved it. And I read Rich Dad Poor Dad as well, and I
Yeah.
love that. And so it just seemed like the right fit. And little did I know there's some other things that I accidentally got into with that were great. I went in, I started to own remotely. And I couldn't be the one doing the taxes. I started
Yeah.
to expand rapidly. So and you can't do that if you're the one working in the business. So and that even all of that, Meg, allowed me to move wherever I wanted. Like, we were going to move to Denver, or actually Evergreen, and we ended up moving back to Spearfish, South Dakota because of family. But it was a choice. And I knew I'd never open up a business in Spearfish, South Dakota, but I could open up businesses in Southern California, in LA, in San Diego, in Orange County, which you know I eventually did. So
Right.
all those ingredients of that first brand, being able to operate it somewhat remotely and then eventually get into it with different partners, and it being a business that lends itself to multi-unit ownership, all of those ingredients were perfect and allowed me to fully understand franchise and the benefits of that. So when I bought into more brands later on, it just, I could do that without it impacting the current business that I was in.
So you held on to those while you expanded,
I
diversified?
had I was a franchisee with Liberty Tax in Kansas City is where I started, and I had a few of those there. And then I bought the area development, and I was partners with my parents at this time. So we
Mm,
bought the area development in Austin, Texas, which basically you help sell franchises and then you
right.
help those franchisees become successful. So I bought that region of Austin when it had 4 locations. I ended up selling my Kansas City stores, focusing on the Austin market. I owned, I think, 9 franchises there myself personally. And
Mm.
then I helped grow that to 42 locations overall in that region. And then I sold that at 2 different times back to the corporate office. So I sold all my locations to other people. And then over a 2-year period, I sold the area development region back to the corporate office. And that was the plan all along. So 9 years into it, I had sold everything out of Liberty. And that's really when I met you. And that's when I opened up a senior care business. I opened up a salon suite business, and all of those were all in California. My history of seeing how franchising worked allowed me to do that and own multiple business. I owned an eyelash company, multiple businesses all at the same time.